Hey there, ladies and gentleboys, Spazzy Dragon here, aka Syndromes, and welcome back to Let's Try, Episode 3. And as for the third game, this is going to be a doozy, because technically speaking, these are two separate games that, if combined, make for a potentially interesting Let's Play. For those of you who don't know yet, the Let's Try series is a method of voting that I'm going to be using to determine my next Let's Play series. If you are going to go back and take a look at the existing games, give it a thumbs up for the ones that you think might be interesting, and at the end of this list, I'm going to give it a week for people to catch up on all of the presented episodes, and we are going to choose the top two ones to kind of alternate between as we go for the next Let's Play series. Now then, BeamNG is an interesting little pick of mine because I don't really do a lot of racing games, and that's actually kind of normal because BeamNG is not exactly a racing game either. It's more of a physics sandbox that just happens to have highly detailed vehicles, but at the same time there is another game, and it's called Automation. Now, I will be completely honest with you, the inspiration of this little kind of potential Let's Play series comes from other people. Because what they do is, BeamNG is for, breaking things and, having fun with cars. At the same time, Automation is about designing cars. So what they do is they design cars in a live stream, and then they compete with them and race them trial them against each other in BeamNG. Now, BeamNG has a lot of custom and non-custom maps, so I'm going to, just for the sake of example, going to very quickly show you one of the custom maps, East Coast USA, for example. I'm going to load a random place, and I'm going to take a random vehicle. The thing that sets BeamNG apart from other racing games, from what I can tell you off the bat, is simply the fact that the game has no requirement to make you finish it. So, what I mean by that is usually you have some sort of stability assist, or your damage makes, is kind of more visual, or the impact on the vehicle itself as damage rises does not prevent you from, not playing the game. BeamNG is a little bit different. So right now, this is the default vehicle. It's basically a Ford truck, right? But see, here's the thing. If I press and hold Control, you will notice that this whole vehicle is just made up of different parts. So for example, hey, I want to peek up under the hood. So let me just... Oh, this is not how you open a hood. Oh dear, it looks like I've bent it a little bit. That's okay. See, you have the engine underneath us. It's okay. Yeah, it's completely fine. I'm sure that the owner is not going to notice this. So, for example, you have the fender panels. You have the guard, the front guard here. You can actually kind of see that this, like the front of it, it's actually plastic. So, there we go. As you can see. And of course you can have like everything else as well. So this is a physics sandbox basically, and if you go into your car list, you will notice that the car list itself is very, very extensive. So let's take a relatively fast vehicle. Let's go for a manual, and I'm just going to show you how it handles. The idea here is that this game is very realistic in sense of how it handles. The game has no reason to keep you on the track. So let's go. So all of these, there is something kind of like a single player, but there is not a campaign. So the whole idea is that people design new vehicles in Automation, like from scratch, and then kind of time trial them in BeamNG. So as you can see, this car is really nice and stable on the road. Of course, I'm a poor driver, and... oops. You'll notice that the car has actually, like, realistically taking damage. As realistically as a car in a game can, of course. So let's kind of pull this thing out a little bit. Let's see how it looks. There we go. So again, the game doesn't prevent you from driving on. It's just that you're probably going to have problems, and this, as you can see, I can actually damage it beyond beyond the point where it's actually drivable. As you can see, the wheels are actually currently facing not in the most optimal position. At the same time, many of these vehicles have the electronic stability assist. We can turn that off. So let's see what happens if we turn that off. There is a custom map that I'm going to be using for this, and I'm going to very quickly guide you through it. It's going to be our, quote, track, so to speak, even though, there's no waypoints, there's no automatic system. We kind of will have to wing it, kind of keep track of the time on our own accord. And as you can see, the car is actually pretty unstable when you turn off the electronic stability control, because the game has no... like, it's not obligated to keep you on the track. If it wants to, or rather, if you want to, you can just wrap yourself around a tree, which, by the way, we're probably gonna do here in a moment, because I'm coming in way too fast. Ah, yes. And of course you do have, like, Mustangs and stuff like that. So, yeah. Right, so you get the idea, right? So, with that in mind, let's go back to the track selector. We're going to go for altitude, and I'm going to really quickly tell you why I have chosen this map in particular. So the first 30 minutes of this episode is going to be me, showing the map, showing the cars, or at least, just showing what it's all about. So first of all, I'm going to actually just delete this vehicle, so I have freeform. And this map, as you can see, is very hilly, and that's kind of the point. So the idea is, this whole map is kind of like 50-50 road and gravel. And it's going to start over there, back here. And the whole thing about this map is that speed traps are a thing. So for example, this place here, right? It's the first corner. You can see it's kind of slanted inwards towards the, corner itself. At the same time, when you go out, there's a tree here. There's a reason for that. You have a lot of straights over here where you can kind of gain speed with many of these vehicles, and the game has both like quick and slow vehicles. And then you have places like this. Now, again, the game is very realistic in how it simulates the car's weight. So, for example, if you're passing quickly over places like this, you're obviously losing traction, because you're gaining a little bit of air, and this is a very nice way to kind of brake your vehicle here. So, for example, over here, you have this tiny little bump. Well, not a bump, it's more like a very small hill, but it terminates into this very sudden corner down. And as you can see over here at this point, the road itself is kind of inwards into this kind of ditch. And there's a tree here. Again, this tree is here not without a reason. Of course, everything else is also made that, the whole place is kind of fun. You can go full speed here. You can hit these kind of irregularities in the road. Look, there's a trunk here. There's probably a reason why it's here. Cough. And, of course, you have places like this. So, this is a fork in the road. There are two ways we can approach this track. We can go all the way here, and I will show you right now. This is another speed trap, because here's the thing. Unlike other racing games, the game also simulates the speed in which your wheels turn. So, you cannot actually make very quick consecutive S type of turns without risking that your wheels will not physically turn to the side quickly enough without you, running into the barrier. So apart from that, there's also, the other way around. You can go here, and that is the dirt road. Now, the dirt road is kind of interesting because the whole purpose of this is to break your face. You have these little dips here. You have a little bit of a kind of like a tabletop, actually. If you hit this spot, like if your vehicle happens to be a slower one, it's gonna break your radiator. You have places like this that kind of jumps you on top of this very narrow bridge. There's a chance you're going to catch the sides. Let's keep on going. You have these S kind of places, like all the places that you can kind of, fall out of. And this is one very interesting moment. So this place, you can see it's downhill. And at the same, you have this kind of NASCAR-esque thing that you should probably never use, because, well, I'll show you in a moment. But for example, over here you can see that this thing is still ledge, so if you're not careful, you're just going to break your vehicle instantly. Speed traps are the whole purpose of this place. So for example, right here, this is probably the fastest point where you can go, going through the circuit thing. And then you have this narrow little bridge downwards. And the problem is that it goes downwards, but you can already tell that there is a turn here. And this turn is very sudden, and it's not exactly on a trajectory that is, easy to spot. So you have this wall here. There's a reason for that. So you can kind of see it kind of goes, it continues up here, and then it kind of shimmies to the side a little bit, as if it's merging into this gravel road that actually doesn't really go anywhere. Then you have the tunnels like this. Again, over a small hill. These small hills are designed to punish people who go too fast. Like, whoever made this map did a very good job. It terminates into this kind of very nasty little place, where if you're not careful, you're going to be just sliding out, hitting these rocks. There's a faster section here, and so far, it has been smooth sailing. It's all tarmac. This is where things get interesting, because at this point, at this 50% mark, it's all gravel again. So we suddenly have gravel, so vehicles without electronic assist, without 4x4s, without anything like that, they are going to suffer a lot on these particular patches. Then it becomes into a mountain trail. The mountain trail is kind of bad because every single bump you take, and these roads are bumpy, it is kind of shifting your vehicle's weight around, and that weight has an impact on grip. So the chance that you're going to be kind of hitting these things or taking a tumble down there is actually pretty high. So for example, constant use of brakes is kind of needed, but if you kind of lift off during braking, you are going to in fact break something else. You have these little spots here, like you can actually tell that this road is kind of slanted out towards this cliff edge. That's not really good for the, the safety of the vehicle. You have, again, moments like this. You can actually see, like, it's a hill, again. A hill, okay, fair enough. And and at the edge of the hill, the road kind of shimmies downwards and to the left side. It's all built so that if you go too fast, you're gonna, break something. This place is amazing because, hey, this is a very quick straight. This is where a bridge starts. But the problem is, if you go straight, you will notice that, yes, the bridge is slightly slanted to the left. Hey, guess what will happen if you go too fast? And that's basically the name of the game. Then, of course, you have these kind of serpentine tracks with a very little to no edge. Like, you can see how very close to the edge this place is. And, yeah, it kind of continues here. Like, this place is even worse because some of these mountains are very close to the, well, technically, inner edge of the road, and that's kind of, troublesome, especially like this. So, again, this is like that previous place back there. You have this kind of serpentine thing, and there are cars in the game that don't have, boosted controls, boosted steering, and that's kind of, a trap for that thing. Same thing here. We have a bump. Guess what's on the other side? Trees! And now comes the fun part. So this is where the tarmac ends, and this is where the gravel starts. We're going to take a small turn here. We're going to hit the gravel. The gravel is very misleading, because you can see this is basically a downhill thing. But the gravel is slippery, and the problem is there's all of these rocks around. So, for example, you can see, again, this place is slanting into a ditch. If you're not careful, you're going to hit the ditch. If you are going to go full speed around this track, you will notice that, for example, this corner right here, it's a downhill corner, and it goes into rocks. So, again, this is just the name of the game. Do not go fast, but do not go slow, because, hey, it's race. So here, this is the same place where we were. This is the start of the map. We turn out here, and we go back to the starting line. Right, so that is the idea. That is the TLDR of the track. I still have a few minutes left, so let us actually go through that track. Let's take a reasonably fast vehicle, like this thing. Let's say, let's go for the hill climb sequential asphalt version. And the thing is, we're going to be creating both, you know, slow and fast vehicles. We're going to be creating sports cars that are really close to the ground. We're going to be creating sports cars that are off-road. So, you know, it's a rallycross, so, hey, try to make it do. Okay, let's go. Oh, this thing is going to be fast. And we already made sure to say that, hey, this whole track is a death trap. So, for example, right here, and you can see there's a tree right here. If this thing was a little less yieldy, I would be wrapped around that tree right now. But there is also a trap for vehicles like this. So, for example, I already told you about this spot, right? You kind of need to start braking here, otherwise you're going to hit the outer edge. Then we have this spot over here. I have to brake now, otherwise I am going to go into that ditch. So every single vehicle that we are going to create, we are not going to be specifically creating it on, like, specifically for this track. So, for example, here, I made a mistake, and the car has sustained a little bit of damage. And it's still sustaining a little bit of damage. I think I actually broke my control rods there, but that's okay, because this is a physics sandbox, so that means that we can just reverse, 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 and boom, here we are. We're not going to be doing this during the trials themselves, of course, but, you know, for the purpose of this video, and just showing you how the vehicles behave on this track. See, this is why locking your brakes is not a... well, locking your wheels is not a good idea. Okay, let's go. And just for the fun of it, let's take this thing off-road. So instead of going straight here, we're gonna go here. Just for the record, I'm not using a wheel. Let's see how a vehicle like this can do here. Boom! That's a lot of damage. Like, flex tape might fix that, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, let's go, let's go, let's go. There's that little, thing here. You can see that the game is, like, the purpose of the game is not gonna help you survive driving. You can actually see how the car is slowly accumulating damage. Because we are being very mean to this thing. Being a glorified weed whacker right now. It still handles well though, so we're gonna just take it out here. Let's go, and we're back on the road. Right. So here comes the fun part. This is that little bridge thing. See what I meant when I said, hey, it kind of goes, you know, to the left? Let's try that again. Again, during the actual competition, I'm not going to rewind the vehicle like this. But it is kind of like Prince of Persia is. So let's do this a little bit more, you know, gently. There we go. Like, you can see that there are bumps here, and these little hills, that if you're not really careful... like, dirty roads right here. And hey, if we're here, we might as well just... yeah. It doesn't damage the vehicle too much, so we might as well. And here comes the fun part! Oh... oh dear. Like, this part of the road just ruins vehicles. If they're... like, if the car is fast enough that it can actually keep up the speed, it's just going to destroy itself. You actually can see it right now as I'm taking damage as I'm going through this place. And this is not a good place to take damage, because now we're going to be approaching the Serpentine Hill Road. Like, this is the last chance. Like, this is the last place where the road is nice and wide. Because this is where the suffering begins. So I'm gonna, you know, be dumb, and I'm going to go much faster than I should be on these particular roads, just to show you what happens if you... As I was saying. So, yeah, that happens. Let's just rewind time. Let's try again. I'm gonna go through, like, you can see what happens if you even, like, touch the gravel. I just reset the vehicle, let's go. And you can see, like, this road is really small, bumpy, and there's patches like this. See what I mean? This game, like this track, is going to punish you for going fast. So let's try that again. I just reset to the last position. So right here, you're supposed to brake a little bit because, hey, there's a small turn here to the left. You can see that this car is not meant for bumps like this, like the suspension is way too stiff. And where we're going to create our vehicles, we'll have to keep that in mind because, hey, it's going to be very good on those previous roads, but like these, it's still tarmac, right? But that's even worse because your ass is bouncing around from side to side, and you're losing traction on every single, you know, overcorrection that you make. So, like this, I didn't even mean to do that, but hey, you might as well... Well, there goes the engine. And, like, the game itself is really realistically designed. There's crumple zones, there are cars that have the kind of inside protected with, like, bars and stuff. You know, roll cages. And you can see that, like, the whole front is actually nice and destroyed, but the overall shape of the car is still the same. So, for the fun of it, let's actually take a car that isn't protected like this. Let's just rewind time a little bit. Let's go into the menu. Let's grab a you know, different type of car. Let's go with a very old sort of vehicle. Let's say a police vehicle from the, like, the 50s and 60s or whatever. Like, these things are in no way, you know, slow. But they're, like, you can already tell that the suspension is a lot different. It's a lot softer. And as already said, hey, like, that thing is bouncing around. Like, this thing kind of feels like a waterbed. You can see it kind of wobbles around the moment you land, something like that. It's actually a little bit easier to drive in these roads specifically, but at the same time, this thing has absolutely no downforce, this thing has absolutely no traction. These are old school tires. And of course, this thing is also a lot slower, but that's to be expected. So with the previous vehicle, this is someplace that I could actually go airborne. This thing actually manages to do it the same. You can sort of see, like, what would happen if I had a slightly faster vehicle there. Like, every single part of this track is designed as a speed trap of some sort. For different speeds of vehicles. So this is the part when I said we're going to go to the gravel side, and then it's a downhill race on a gravel slide. Remember, in front of us, there's that one place where there's a left turn down into a slant. I'm actually going to take it a little bit faster than usual, just to let you know what to expect from it. Like, why... Like, for example, I'm not taking my, foot off the pedal here. And you can see, okay, this is fine. There was a slant here to the inside. Oh, no. Talk about wrapping yourself around a tree. Like, you can see the problem here. Like, this place in particular, really tricky, because it kind of just terminates into a left turn, but that left turn is on a slant. You can see that it actually, like, there's a ditch on my right now. And the same thing happens up here. Like, I didn't point out this one out the previous time, I pointed out this one that's approaching just now. So this is a left turn. It's an uphill. You know there's going to be a downhill section here, but as you approach it and as you take it, it just drops down very quickly. I just overcompensated. and wrap my ass around a tree. Well, let's fix that. So there we go. Now, thankfully, the rest of the trip is kind of easier. Like, this is where we came from. This is just that this time we're going to be going here. You can see the game actually is... like, the weight of the vehicle is a thing that happens. So you're kind of using the bumps to turn yourself or going to controlled slides. And there we go. This is the end mark. So this is where we start from. So yeah, that is our track. That's going to be our rallycross track. We're 26 minutes in, and now we are going to, in fact, turn to automation. And I'm going to show you the second part, the live streaming part. So this is something I would record as an episode. Now, we're going to go back and create a vehicle, not specifically for this, but it is going to be a vehicle that is going to participate in a tournament or a race set on this map on this particular track. Hey there guys, Spazzy here, aka Syndromes, and apparently F9 opened something in this game. Welcome to Automation. For those of you who remember Mr. Regular Review's New Zealand thing, this is the game that they were talking about during every single intro. Automation is paired with BeamNG. If BeamNG is where you go to break your vehicles, automation is where you create them. And this is the part of this, supposed potential Let's Play that I would be live streaming. We would be creating this vehicle together. So what we will be doing is we're going to go to the sandbox, we're going to create a new model, and as the game currently loads all the assets, I will have to tell you right now, I am not a car guy. I do not know a lot of things about vehicles, about engine types, or the, mechanics involved. And you'll see that the first thing we're going to be doing here is that you'll notice that there's a lot of just vehicle types. So the whole idea is that the most newest type of vehicles are located at the top, and then you can slowly scroll down, go through all the others. So for example, 2009, 2011. Let's go down even more. There's 2004 coupes. There's a lot of body parts like this. Hey, look, this kind of already looks like a Volkswagen van. Let's keep on going down. 2003s, you have like 2000s vehicles, like that is clearly a Celica GTS, for example. Let's just keep going. So that's 1995 station wagon, like that just looks like one of those Audi A6s, A4s, A3s, I don't know. Again, not a car guy. And you can just keep on going, like, to the, like, 90s. Hey, like, 88 freaking van. Let's go. We are entering the 80, like, boxy 80s designs. Let's go even more down. Like, what else do we have? Like, 80s complete box. You have the muscle cars of the late 70s, for example. You have, like, what were these, like, dad cars, from 75 and all the way down. Hey, look, this is a very familiar design, right? And you have all of these shapes, and you can just kind of mess with them. Let's keep going. Let's just keep going. Hey, look, we have like 40s car designs. We can make a lot of interesting vehicles out of this. So hey, so for today's episode, for the sake of example, let's quickly build a car and just import it. So I'm just gonna go for like a 65 sedan thing. Let's make a interesting little car. So we picked this, the body design itself, and now we have to figure out, how we equip it. So it's going to start with panel material. We can make the car out of steel, treaded steel, corrosion resistant, fiberglass, aluminum, partial, carbon fiber, etc., etc. So I'm going to go with saying that this car is a, it's going to be a race car. It's going to be a classically built race car, but with modern equipment. So I'm going to go with like fiberglass. We're going to have a chassis type. The thing is, like, ladder, monocoque, space frame, a lot of these things, I do not know what they mean. Semi-space, light truck. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. A fiberglass light truck chassis. It's gonna be made out of, say, HS steel. I don't know what even that is. You know. Engine placement. We can have it front transverse, aka, you know, on the side, or front longitudinal. Let's go for longitudinal because we do have the space for it. Then it's going to tell us, okay, what about the suspension? I have absolutely no idea what these are. Like MacPherson strut, double wishbone, solid axle, coil, solid axle leaf. Yeah, sure. A race car with leaf springs. Yeah, let's go with that. Solid axle coil leaf. Yeah, sure. This sounds like a very good idea. A race car with leaf springs. I'm sure this is going to be perfectly fine. Next up, we are going to pick an engine, and what we're going to do is, let's just make a completely new engine. And it's going to say, okay, what do you want? Do you want a, like a V6 inline? Okay, an inline is basically a, you know, just a, okay, what do we have? Does not fit. Okay, there we go. So an inline engine is just a straight engine. Then you can say, okay, I want a V6. What kind of V6? You want a 6 or an 8 or a 12? It's actually going to tell us right now with the body part that we chose, like the body type that we chose, we actually have a problem fitting this thing. But at the same time, we can actually decrease the size of the bore of the engine and start, like, making it smaller or larger. So this is completely filled, right? So as we decrease this engine, it's going to be a tiny V, like a 60 degrees, sorry, no, actually not even that. 60 degrees V12 that just happens to be tiny as hell. Okay, let's actually see how much we have before it starts filling out. Let's make it as big as possible, but as small as possible, if that makes any sense. Let's find that sweet spot where it just starts. Yeah, there we go. So it's a 6.5 liter V12 that actually fits inside this vehicle. What about the block material? We have cast iron, aluminum, we have stainless steel, magnesium. Let's go for aluminum block. Push rods, and so heads and valves. The thing is, you can read all of this if you want. I just want to very quickly make this vehicle so I can export it and trial it out during this episode. Since we are 36 minutes in, let's go. Dual overhead cams. We're going to have 4 valves per cylinder. The head material is going to be aluminum as well. And variable valve timing, sure, let's go with that. The crankcase is going to be forged steel, billet steel. We're going to go billet steel because it's going to be maxed RPM. The conrods, I don't even know what a conrod is, so lightweight aluminum, I guess? Pistons, we have like lightweight forge. Sure, let's just max it out. Let's make this thing ridiculous stupid. Just go for that. Compression, okay, all this thing we can actually kind of, you know, figure out after the fact. We don't have to actually do all of this now. We can go back during any point in time and just kind of, you know, mess around with it. So I'm just going to leave this currently as it is. So here's the fun part. Is it going to be a naturally aspirated engine, just, you know, a carb on it? Or are we just going to go for the supercharger, like a turbocharger? Let's go turbocharger. It's going to fill up a little bit, but that's the reason I didn't go full balls to the wall like 99%, because I know I'm going to tack things on, so we might as well go. So, twin turbo setup. Let's go with ball bearing. intercooler, it can tell you like how many kilowatts can it dissipate. I've no idea how that works, don't ask. Presets, performance, of course. All this compressor, turbine, AR ratio, whatever, all of this is going to be, you know, something we do later. Fuel system, it's going to be either a carb or an ejector. Let's go, for the fun of it, let's go with a carb, but let's go with like 4-barrel super carb, and let's go with a twin carb, so that means like one on each side, question mark? I don't know. Let's go for like performance, not specifically race intake, and let's go for like premium 95. There we go. Okay, that starts looking like an interesting engine that you might... Like, that's an interesting thing that you might find in like a car like that. Again, all of this, ignition timing, RPM limit, everything else, we can mess with that later. We don't have to do it now. Short cast, exhaust, yeah, let's go with like dual exhaust, because we can. With bypass valves, because why not? Exhaust diameter actually does have an impact on what we can do here, so hey, catalytic converter, let's go with like straight through. Sure. Second muffler, none. Okay, so here we go. We have a problem with the knocking. So what does this mean? The engine failed due to knock. Try lowering the compression or the ignition timing. So this is where we go back to like the fuel system, and we start, you know, doing things to it. I'm not exactly... Okay, there we go. We made the fuel mixture richer, and now suddenly it's, you know, much better. The problem is right now, I'm not exactly sure what's... okay. So the problem is... Oh dear, did I just go all the way back? Okay, there we go. Right, so the problem here is... I don't really know how to translate kilowatts into horsepower, because horsepower is something I can understand. Like, I know that like a mid-family sedan is kind of like, you know, 100 to 120 horsepower, you know, something like that. I have no idea how this looks, so, So yeah, that is most certainly a thing. So let's go to that fuel designer. I see that we're actually hitting most of our stuff here, so hey, might as well. Just for the sake of example, I'm gonna leave as it is. So, apart from all of that, let's manually test it. Sounds like a beast. Alright, and now we're going to create the car itself. So, we are once more given a chance to take any of these, you know, overall family design. But since I was looking at this first one, we're just going to take this one. And we're going to start with that. And this is the point where a lot of things can happen. I'm going to, say, paint it... new paint... Let's go like... Let's not go balls to the wall. Paint plastic. Okay, that's the thing. Okay. Chrome, carbon fiber, steel, leather. Okay, we do have aluminum, right? There we go. So, flake, whatever. Like, I've never been good at designing the car. Okay, so here's the thing. All of these parts of the vehicle we can actually modify as we see fit. So, for example, this part I can elongate or dis-elongate. And I think I'm going to kind of leave it like this because it kind of looks interesting. Right. So, yeah, let's go with that. There we go. And I guess let's leave that up. Why not? That's perfectly fine. Now then, this is where the fun begins, because this is where we can actually customize the vehicle itself. We can start with, like, you know, the headlights, for example, and let's start going from there. We want a kind of interesting vehicle here, so what I'm going to do is, like, this thing kind of looks like a retro-ish car, so let's give it, like, retro-ish lights. Oh dear, this kind of looks interesting. So what would happen if I placed it kind of like here? It's gonna embed itself. You can see it kind of cuts it out a little bit. Let's make it smaller, and let's kind of move it a little bit up. Ah, yes. And so, boom, we have headlights. That's not the only light I want, though. So, what would happen if we were to put another one? Just a smaller set right underneath the previous one? Sure, that's allowed. Okay, so let's go for taillights. For taillights, I'm not really sure what I want to do. These might be interesting. Let's actually do the same thing as before, like embed them kind of here. That looks strange, actually. Yep, that looks perfectly fine. I'm sure there's absolutely no problem with this. The indicators, let's just go with the, like, regular indicators. Something like this, why not? And let's go to something interesting. Let's go to grills. Now this is where the car can kind of become either interesting or terrible. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is, let's stretch this thing out a little bit, like this, there we go. But let's give it a second grill. Something like this. Let's place it downwards, let's make it narrower, wider. And it's gonna be kind of like this, so let's make this one kind of upwards a little bit. And there we go. We have a front of the vehicle. Unassuming. Very unassuming. So the question is, do we want... like, do we want something like this? Yeah, sure. That makes perfect sense. Let's go for it. So, let's go for vents, but let's place them somewhere completely bizarre. So, for example, oh, I like this. And what I want to do is, I kind of want to do them like this, elongate them. Oh yeah. We have become the air suck. This is perfectly fine. Scoop. I don't think we need a scoop, per se. Oh, this looks really terrible. Let's go for this one. Let's go for a scoop, but let's place it, like, somewhere completely irrelevant. Like this? Yeah, sure. That's gonna help us. Like, that is gonna help us a lot. Window, sunroof. Do we want a sunroof? Of course we want a sunroof. We have a freaking... yeah, sure. Why not? And, aerodynamics. Let's go for a lip. Like, do we want a... so these, like, lips and stuff, they actually do add to the handling, like, and everything else of the vehicle. So I do want to make sure that we have them. Oh dear, that was way too much. You can kind of see it's trying to wrap around. Okay, that's fine. And this is actually where I kind of want to, like, let's go quickly back to the scoops again. And not the scoops, the vents. The vents. And let's just kind of put these here. Like, smaller ones. But we still kind of want them there. There we go. Perfect. Right, let's go for the spoiler. Do we want a spoiler? Of course we want a spoiler. Why wouldn't we want a spoiler? Spoil all the things. Yeah, sure, why not? And a wing. Do we want a wing? I don't really think we need a wing on something like this, but we can, and that's the whole point. If we wanted to, we could, like, give it a wing. Actually, sure, let's give it a wing here. Actually, like, let's give it a series of wings. All the wings. This looks terrible, by the way. I have no idea why I'm doing this. So, fuel cap. Sure. Boosh. Fuel cap. There we go. Door handle. I mean, it kind of looks better with something like this. Just another one here. Yeah, that's gonna be fine. Do we want mirrors, like, at all? Sure, of course. Where do we want them, though, is the question. So, let's do it like the old school style, something like this. Yeah, boy. This is gonna be beautiful. Body modeling? I don't know what's that about. So, aerials? Do we want aerials? No, we don't. Number plates? This is a sports vehicle. We don't need that. Bumper. Right. So, I think a vehicle like this would benefit from something like this. So my question is, how do I mirror it? Yeah, there we go. Mirror. Yeah, beautiful. Right, so I do want to have another lip here. And like something like this. There we go. There's something silly like this. Alright, let's quickly add a badge. Yes, a ghost. Sure, why not? And let's call it, like, S... That's not what I wanted to do. SP... like with a double Z. This is perfectly fine. Ah yes, the Spazzo. Perfect. Right, so let's go with wheels. What do we want with wheels? Like, do we want just regular wheels? Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. We're like 53 minutes. We need to hurry. So let us add some mufflers. And also make sure that we do mirror them. There we go. There you go. That's a neat looking car. Miscellaneous features, we can add like all sorts of things. Spazzo Turbo, technically speaking, it is a fact thing. Tow bars. Yeah, of course this thing needs a tow bar. How about we don't? You know what? This place does need a badge in terms of badges. A nice little wide little S, like stretched out, complete S. Perfect. Nobody will know. Kind of looking at what other things we can have here. Like, if we mirror this thing, we might actually make it into a kind of interesting, actual interesting badge. So let's do that. Where's the shapes? There's the shapes. Let's go for a kind of this thing. And now I'm going to mirror it. Oh dear. Where did those badges go? How do I mirror this thing? Okay, let's actually place it. Like, I'm thinking about something like this, right? And then we select this and we mirror it. Yep, sure. So there's our badge. All right. So longitudinal, all-wheel, rear wheel, manual, sequential, dual thrust, sequential. Let's go for like 6 ratios. Open diff, automatic locker, viscous limited slip. I don't actually know how to do that. Okay, something like this maybe? And I don't know like how everything else works, so XD. Cross-ply radial. Yeah, I think... So tie width. Oh yes, chunky boy. This is perfectly fine. Tire choice, sports compound. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. And yeah, sure. Like, rim material, steel, that's fine. Alloy. Front brakes, vented discs, 2 pistons. Vented discs, 4 pistons. No, 2 pistons. Frick it. Under tray. Let's go with semi-clad. Aero. Cooling flaps. I don't know what I'm even doing here. Seats, that looks fine. Let's go for sport. Standard infotainment. Power steering. Variable. I would say let's go. Traction aids, let's go with ABS. Actually, no, let's go for none. Like, this is an old school vehicle. Safety, standard 2000s, because it's a race car. Springs, hydro progressive standard. Active sport, dampeners, adaptive. I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at, but we are at 75 minutes. We might as well do it. The car has severe issues with wheel spins. Don't worry about it. Alright, ladies and gents. This is our first car. This is not supposed to be here. There we go. Summary! A lot of problems with this car. But hey, let's export it. Agree. And this is our vehicle. I do want to go back and change the color a little bit. Wheels, brakes, paint. Yeah, there we go. Let's go back and edit paint. Let's just turn it like this, please. Yeah, there we go. Let's export it. Let's go for like this. And this is our car. Like, for a test vehicle, that's perfectly fine. And now we're going to export everything. There we go. And I'll see you in BeamNG. Hey there guys, and welcome back to BeamNG Drive, where we are going to test the Spazzy Turbo. So, again, the whole idea is that we build the car together, like a build episode, and then after we have all the, quote, contestants, we can race them. Every single time we build a car, we also are going to have, like, a test drive sort of thing. And yeah, that's basically how this sort of BeamNG Let's Play would work. Anyway, let's go find ourselves our car. There it is. Model 1 Trim 1. Not the most creative name, I know. But there we go. Let's see if it imported correctly. There we go, it's loading. There's our car. So, let's see how terribly we did this. That is a very high suspension. Also, holy hell, that wheel spin. Oh dear. That did not take long at all. That's good, let's go. Oh yeah, something's kind of off with the handling a little bit. It seems it's kind of trying to compensate for something. The odd thing is that we already hit 6th and we're barely reaching like... Oh no, 110 miles per hour, there we go. See what I meant? Like, almost hit the grass here. Oh wow, this thing is twitchy. This thing is slightly twitchy. Oh, too fast. Way too fast. It's okay, no damage yet. Oh, that actually went better than I expected. Let's take it down the dirt track. Okay, so this thing does not really want to steer properly. Like, the steering is really, really stiff. And I have a feeling that it's the preset it's using. It doesn't feel like a muscle car turn, you know. Okay. Let's see how badly can we break it on this thing. Oh wow, this... Yeah, this thing is way too high. Okay, let's do this. Oh dear. Ooh. So of course, like, it's using a, you know, kind of, single-piece model, so obviously the damage is not as, you know, detailed. Oh dear. So it's going to only lose, like, fixtures, it's not going to lose panels. Oh, yeah. So, as you can see, like, the damage model on imported vehicles is a lot less detailed than the, you know, actual custom cars that are existing in this game. But at the same time, it's not kind of the point. I like breaking things, but if we design a car and make it race against other designed cars of ours, then you know, not crashing it would be kind of one of the main goals there. And this thing does not like the sand. Like, this is the Anakin of my cars right now. Like, oh wow. Like, what is road? This is actually kind of terrible. I designed a vehicle with really bad tires. I think it's the tires that are currently the problem. It looks like it has a lot of power, right? The problem is, it looks like currently the wheels are not transferring that power correctly. Okay, here comes the fun part. There you go. That actually went a lot better than I thought it would. Oh, oh dear. Careful. Don't do something stupid. So yeah, this would be our Let's Play. We would design the cars in live streams, and then after we have a fleet of like 5 or so vehicles, we would compete them against each other. We would build the cars together, so we would kind of figure out what kind of, you know, category they go in. And as I mentioned before, this sort of gameplay is inspired by the gameplay of other people, the Let's Play series of other people, and I'm going to be linking them down in the video description. So thanks guys for watching. This is what we're going to be doing with automation, if you like this sort of thing. Like, I know this is not the sort of game that I would usually upload on this channel, so this is more of an experiment, because, hey, I like, you know, I want to try something new as well. But yeah, this car does not like the sand. Like, what is traction? This thing is going to just go down spinning up in the mountain serpentines, like, I know. And yeah, let's just... Oh no. We have just accidentally, etc, etc. Oof. Hey look, it's a hatchback. Alright, ladies and gents, thanks for joining me. Vote this thing if you want to see it done as a Let's Play, and I'll see you in the next episode.